The final round of the Protyre Circuit Rally Championship headed to Anglesey for the SMC stages, and the newly crowned champion Michael Igo would take the lead to start the day, looking to end his season on a high. But this weekend, he wouldn't have usual co-driver Will Atkins alongside, as Will was over in the Isle of Man competing. So for this round, he'd be partnered by Kirsty Riddick. Plenty of experience in that co-driver seat, and despite being his first time with a new co-driver, Michael Igo was getting into the swing of things well. Second place for now will be Ollie O'Donovan and Ashley Morris, the pair 18 seconds back by the midpoint in the event in their Hyundais. And local pair Will Owen and Chloe Thomas will be third at this stage. The always fast Escort crew were giving many of the four-wheel drive cars a run for their money this weekend. Another rear-wheel drive crew going well though will be Mark Smith and Robbie Sanford, the Darien pair, only 12 seconds back from the Escort and taking second place in the class as well behind them on the leaderboard for now. For Tony Robinson and Paul Spooner, it will be fifth place overall to start the day. This was only the third event of the season for the pair, so things were going well considering the lack of seat time compared to the competition around them. For James Garner and Tom Hutchings, who was reunited with his championship-winning Darien from 2019, it will be third place in Class 3. The Darien pair out for the first time together, however, in this car and lying in sixth place for now. Chris West and Keith Hounslow frustratingly encountered issues through the morning that would drop them back from the Class 3 lead and down to fourth place in the class, outside the top 10. Certainly not ideal, but there were still 4 stages to go, and the pair would be on a fight back in the afternoon. And that 306 Maxi on a fight back is a mouth-watering prospect. Richard Merriman and Harry Evans will be the third of the Dariens in the top of the results this weekend. It was certainly Darien weather here at Anglesey, wasn't it? And they were lying in 7th overall. This pair leading the way in Class 5 as well. David Longfellow and James Wilson compete on a championship round for the first time this weekend. It's never too late to start, right? Not here for points, of course, but a good showing against the regulars to lie in 8th place by the end of the morning stages. Perhaps a sign of what might be to come. For Mai Davies and Allard Edwards, it will be 9th place. The Escort pair just 18 seconds back on the overall leaderboard as well in that position. And rounding out the top 10 was Steve Hill and Hal Ridge. We hadn't seen them out since Brands Hatch back in January, but they were going well this weekend with the lead in Class 2 and as spectacular as ever. Second place in that class behind the Evo pair will be Martin Farrer and Andrew Ward. 20 seconds the difference for them to try and make up in the 4 stages making up the afternoon. Taking a look at some of the other classes, and it will be the lead in Class 8 for Jeff McQuilling and Ivan Rowlands. The Honda pair with 22 seconds of a lead at this point. And that lead will be over Ewan Clear-Jones and Dewey Hughes. The Peugeot pair moving up the overall leaderboard as the morning went on. That lead for McQuilling, though, had been a recent addition. It was Storm Stacey and Samuel Kelter leading the way for 3 of the morning's 4 stages, but they'd have problems on stage 4, having to pull the Fiesta over. And considering this was the first rally for Storm, and with a bit of a change from 2 wheels, that was good going. In Class 9, things were a bit more settled at least, with Madrian Harris and Geraint Evans leading the way in the class right from the start of the day in their Nova. But it wasn't much of an advantage, if an advantage at all, with Gareth Roberts and Robert Bryn-Jones only 4 seconds back in second place, ready to have a big charge and take advantage of any opportunity to jump into that class lead. Just the one crew in Class 10. David Fox and Martin Davies lead the way in that class by default, but also lie in 37th overall. It's just them and the clock this weekend. So with the morning stages complete here at Anglesey, here's how the leaderboard is shaping up. We're back out onto the picturesque stages here at Anglesey for the second half of the rally, and a look at the classes and overall results at the end of a pretty exciting Protyre Circuit Rally Championship season. And there'd be no change for the lone Class 10 runners. David Fox and Martin Davies making it to the finish with that class win, of course, and 25th on the overall leaderboard. We'd see a shake-up in Class 9 through the afternoon, though, with Hayden Williams and Thomas Simkis taking second in the class by the finish of the rally, after lying third throughout the morning stages. That move in part down to the loss of Mydrian Harries and Geraint Evans when they break a shaft on the Nova on the penultimate stage of the rally. That, of course, means it's a place gained as well for Gareth Roberts and Robert Bryn Jones, claiming the Class 9 victory in the final stage of the event. No change in Class 8. Second in the class at the end of the rally would go to Ewan Clear-Jones and Dewey Hughes in the Persia. And it was the Class 8 win for Jeff McQuilling and Van Rowlands, holding on to that position for the rest of the afternoon stages. It was all change in Class 2, though, as we lost our morning leaders, Steve Hill and Hal Ridge, on the 6th stage. That meaning it was a move up to second in the class for Nigel and Louise Wetton in the Subaru. And for Martin Farrer and Andrew Ward, it will be the Class 2 lead. They'd reached the end of the rally with a good advantage in that position as well, taking the class win at the finish. On to the top 10 then, and it will be a 10th place finish for Patrick O'Donovan and Bonnie Papper. It could have been higher. The pair actually led the way by the end of stage 2, but problems on the third stage of the day would put them down in 61st overall. A fight back was mounted, and they rounded out the top 10 by the finish. That is pretty impressive. There's no change for Mai Davies and Alan Edwards. They finished the rally with that position. They'd held for most of the event, coming home 9th place overall. No change either for David Longfellow and Jamie Wilson. They just kept it pinned. They'd reached the end of the rally 8th overall in the Citroën. And it was a delighted Richard Merriman and Harry Evans taking the Class 5 victory. The Darien pair would have been a place higher overall as well, but they miss out on that in the final stages, ending the event with their sensible heads on in 7th. Another reason for that position would be a big fight back for Chris West and Keith Hounslow. They'd gained back some of the time lost from their morning's problems, but 6th was as high as they could manage. Although with some of the others not registered for championship points, that was a podium as far as the championship crews were concerned. For Tony Robinson and Paul Spooner, it will be second on that championship podium. A strong result for the Skoda pair, and they'd finish with 5th overall as well. And as for the rest of the positions in the top 10, they wouldn't really change through the afternoon. Plenty of pace out there and plenty of reliability today as well, with Mark Smith and Robbie Sanford taking second in Class 3 this weekend from 4th overall. Class 3 winners would be Will Owen and Chloe Thomas. They led the class from early on, rounding out the podium positions overall as well in the escort. And Ollie O'Donovan and Ashley Morris were unable to gain any more time overall on our leaders, so it would be a 2nd place finish for the pair this weekend. They would end the day 54 seconds back from that rally win. And that, of course, meant that taking overall honours will be Michael Igo and Kirsty Riddick. They didn't let the new partnership get in the way of a strong result, ending the season on a high for Michael and giving Kirsty her first win in the championship. All Michael has to do now is decide if Will is allowed back in the seat for next season or not. So at the end of an exciting and pretty grueling Protyre Circuit Rally Championship, the final round is done. The results are in. The championship is complete. Here's a reminder of how that overall leaderboard shaped up here at the final round.